Spotting an ad looking for new talent, she and her best friend Angie landed a part in a low-budget film.
The vibe that I got early on from Madonna, as I began to see how she began to do her thing and how she began to date different guys in my crew, so to speak, was that she was kind of doing it like a guy does it.
This is the story of a girl who in just 6 years honed the pursuit of stardom into an art form. She could have found fame as a ballet dancer or even as a mainstream rock chick, but her instincts were always her best asset. At various points she was broke, homeless or frustrated, but got the last laugh when, by the time she left New York, she was the hottest act in the world. It was an exciting time for a 19-year-old to hit town. The city itself was on the verge of bankruptcy, respectable families had moved to the suburbs, and a new generation of aspiring artists had colonised the abandoned industrial buildings downtown. The music scene too was in a state of flux as punk clashed with the last days of disco. Studio 54 was staggering towards an inglorious end, and a sweaty den called CBGB's now took centre stage as the city's creative powerhouse. Punk rock was the stimulus for everything that was vital and new, and at the vanguard of the new wave were bands like the Ramones, Talking Heads, Richard Hell and Blondie.
The great thing about that time, I think, was that you could be a musician or a writer or an artist full-time in New York at that time because it was cheap enough. You could have an apartment that cost $90 a month.
There was definitely a response to you know, this boredom that we had in New York that, you know, came out of that whole disco thing, and punk was, you know, the foundation of just like, fuck everything, you know, break down the barriers and do what you want to do.
Some months later, still looking for a break, she got involved with another film director and another movie, but this time the relationship was a bit more highbrow.
She wanted to go in a direction, and this was the best way to do it. I don't think that she was worried about falling off, but the way to make it happen was the way she did it.
I mean, you get out of bed and you scratch your head and you stroke the cat, but she's got a rat. So you take a bath, you go down the drain, but you're not afraid because you're not insane. Then you're in Jamaica and you're running on the beach and you try to swim, but you just can't reach, so you turn around and you see a man and he's sound asleep laying in the sand. You begin to melt, you go right down and the sky goes black, you're in Chinatown.
We had sort of a relationship that, you know, I could help her out, she helped me out.
Hollywood it wasn't, but it did offer her a means of exposure, and perhaps more than that, shows that it wasn't just a musical career she craved so much as the limelight itself. Her new mentor was the next one to notice how frustrated she felt with her life's slow forward motion.
Her timelines were these groups, very short groups of time that worked very well and fast, and they moved forward. Then you go to the next one, the next one, the next one. And she was always moving forward. There wasn't and if the things weren't moving that day, then she's going to do something else.
I'll do anything for money, because money is my love.
She just kind of appeared.
You know that? Somebody, anybody, help me scream!
New York at this time was probably the hottest spot on the planet. This was the beginning of the 80s. Reagan was in the White House, and while the rest of the country zoomed to the right, radical DIY cultures mushroomed in the city. Kids from way uptown, the projects, Harlem and the Bronx, the rappers and graffiti artists, were being feted by the normally elitist downtown crowd.
It was one of those times where the establishment was so far removed from what was going on with the street and the kids. People opened new venues because the old venues were closed. They started new record companies because the other record companies were out of touch. They started new magazines. They opened new art galleries. It was kind of like alternative world opened up.
We were coming into the scene primarily as painters, but we had the celebrity around us of rock stars or downtown rock stars at the time, you know what I'm saying? And what we were doing was really representing what was really hot, cutting edge, and revolutionary at the time. It was definitely like the beginning of the urban cultural revolution, if you will.
Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ spinning, I said, my Francois, c'est pas la chaîne au deux, and you don't stop.
Certainly there was plenty of cross-fertilisation going on. Blondie released Rapture, and street artists like Keith Haring and Basquiat were hung in trendy East Village galleries. Madonna was captivated by all this energy.
7 shows in 81 nights, cleared 81 grand in 81 nights, 81 limousines, 81 garages, 81 visas and laughter charges.
She just seemed like this kind of girl from out of state that was a little, you know, like wasn't totally in the know yet.
I think the street cred was like her, you know, the one thing that she wanted to be a part of.
At first, I thought she was just someone that needed, you know, a friend, kind of, you know, needed someone, because a lot of people were kind of gravitating around that whole element.
I really thought Madonna was cool, but for me personally, she was not the kind of chick I really would have wanted to get with, because a lot of my other crew had been up around her, you know what I'm saying? And that just wasn't my stilo at the time.
I didn't really have a boyfriend at that time, but I had a feeling that if I did, she would have tried to steal him from me. So that's the kind of chick she was, if you know what I mean. It was a dance that, you know, they called the huevo.
And a part of the dance was you could dance with a girl, but you could really get all up on her.
It was just,
a lot of pelvic rubbing going on, if you will.
Dale huevo, dale huevo.
It's very freaky, very hot dance.
Really didn't mean much, you know?
You would often see Madonna when she would be dancing, she would always have 2 or 3 guys all up on her doing the freak, and they would have her like in the smash, like really mashing her pretty good. So I remember, I would be dancing, I'd be at a club dancing with a girl, and she would come up and she'd be on the back of me trying to be freaking, and I'd be like, yo, baby, what's up? You know? So she was trying to turn the tables a little bit.
The style computer in Madonna's head noted what she saw in places like the Mud Club, Danceteria and the Roxy, and realised that actually the mainstream was probably not the best place to be. Despite this, she was still content to hold down the day job peddling soft rock.
Well, I had no idea where Madonna got her money from. She never let us in on that. It was like a private part of her that made her very different from us. We were struggling, you know, with our tips from our jobs and, you know, to pay the rent. And she was like in a different caliber with like the new clothing and all.
By the end of 1981, the downtown club scene was buzzing, and at its heart was Danceteria.
Danceteria was the center of the universe, the place where everyone believed in magic. I don't know.
Danceteria at that time was amazing.
Danceteria was a club with the best music.
Keith Haring was a busboy. Sade was a bartender.
If you were on the cutting edge of music, art, video, or attitude, you were there.
Madonna got into the DJ booth because she was seeing the DJ for a while.
There was a great little dancer out on the dance floor, and she came up to the DJ booth, and we became friendly.
I think he helped her out a bit, too, there, with her career.
Madonna was like a heat-seeking missile. She'd plugged into the hottest DJ in Manhattan with an in to the major record companies.
The major turning point was Madonna taking that tape into Danceteria and Mark Kamen's playing it.
I came up to her and said, "Are you wearing a nice bra?" Because Freddy wanted some girls to go on stage and take off their shirt, and she thought I was out of my mind.
Everything was a free ride. Cute girls, and you know, you get in for free, you drink for free, and it was a lot of partying.
We would just go out and hang out at Danceteria or whatever clubs, Mud Club, and go dancing.
She was like, you know, this really normal girl, which was another thing that was just like, you know, she's so normal, it's so weird. You know, here you like these freaks, total freakazoids. Even the women who were heterosexual were just like dressing up like these demented punk Barbies.
However hard she tried, she couldn't break into the heart of the exclusive downtown set, who found her pushy and uncool.
There was this one song that was out that goes, woo, 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 which is like a dog barking, and we would do that to her, but we did it to a couple of people that we weren't featuring. You know, we were very childish.
The fact that she didn't get accepted by them, I don't think it was any great loss to her, because she was realizing, I think her instincts told her and showed her where the real flavor was. I was walking down Avenue A, and about 20 steps ahead of me were these 3 young Puerto Rican girls. They were really hot and sexy. I was watching them walk down the street, and they had a little boombox with them. And I remember I was watching them, and I was like, whatever this record is, these girls were really into it. You know what I mean? They were singing and walking, switching down the street. And as I got a little closer to them, I realized that that was Madonna's record.
I'm Madonna. I'm from Detroit. And I'm
Madonna auditioned for the TV series of Fame only weeks after the release of Everybody.
Look, Danny, you play games and I play games. We're both just too good at it. You didn't expect anything real to happen between us, did you?
Even though she had her first record out, she wasn't satisfied. One career simply wasn't enough. She wanted more.
So where were you last night?
Fame, the TV version, eluded her, but undeterred, she got her best friends Martin Burgoyne and Maripol to help her find a style that would be uniquely hers.
She actually came back to my loft one day with Martin, and all my stuff was there, and we just had to like pile it up, and you know, I was already making crosses, and they were in rubber. Became an instant friendship, definitely. She would wake me up every day and let's do this, let's do that.
Looking back, Maripol played a major part in the making of Madonna.
There was a lot of unity in those rubber bracelets, you know, like density. Everybody would exchange them for drinks, or it was like, you want to be my friend? Here, I give you 5 bracelets, and the next day you having more.
This strikingly simple but sexy image seemed to unlock doors for her, and the Madonna phenomenon was no longer just about the dance floor tracks. It was about being a face.
Whether I was an input or not, it would have happened anyway. I might have refined the girl. I had certain accessories which were extreme, certain looks which were extreme. I myself had a sense of style that a lot of people copied, not only her, but that's part of being a trendsetter. I'm proud of it.
Another single, Burning Up, followed, building on the success of the first. This was to be the end of the beginning as far as her career was concerned. By the end of 1983, she had a massive hit on her hands. The album went top 10 in the spring. Mainstream success really was beginning to be hers.
It's time to celebrate. Let love shine.
If she wasn't quite a superstar, she soon would be. The really big break was just around the corner.
Things better. We need a holiday.
Susan! Good going, stranger.
Desperately Seeking Suzanne. Oh, I remember how exciting it was. Wow. That's the movie who broke her in the mainstream, image-wise. Because there might have been the music behind, but like I said, MTV was not around, and there was no way for somebody in the Midwest or in LA to put a face to the music.
She stole that movie. But I mean, she was the visceral character, you know. She was what it was all about.
It's her, yeah, it's her role. It's really her life. It's who she is.
In Desperately Seeking Susan, by simply playing herself, Madonna seemed to find a way of telling everyone her New York story. Had to be streetwise, boy-wise, and always to keep one step ahead. Madonna was gone before the movie was released. She'd outgrown the city that had made her, and maybe it had outgrown her. She moved on to Los Angeles to take what that city had to offer.
Deep down, was she happy? Deep down, deep inside, I don't think so.
Our first conversation had to do with the amount of fame that she was going to get, and me seeing her, something in her eyes that said, oh yeah.
Imagine, she saw her mother die too. It's not like when you die of breast cancer and you were misdiagnosed too, and you know, it's not, It's something that is curable these days, you know. And it must have been such a tremendous shock and loss that the pain, it was either that or become a total junkie, which she didn't. So her junk, her addiction was work.
If Madonna's life had been a relentless search for fame, then it seems certain that it had not been a case of fame for fame's sake. And perhaps for that reason, this girl would always want more.
In Spanish, we say they've got cojones, they've got balls, and she's always had balls. And you know, after a certain point, I was thinking, like, she's fucking hot. She's fierce, because she just did what she wanted to do, and she wasn't scared of what people thought. And, you know, a lot of people didn't embrace her, and a lot of people were mean to her, but she just kept on. And you know, that takes some sort of character, that takes strength.
Her most effective trait is that she has the ability to completely dominate you and have you somehow enjoy the experience.
Life is really short, and if you don't make a mark, you're nobody. Well, okay, fine, it's okay to be nobody. But in her case, it was not okay.